K, I heard they wanna do me like I'm Kanye. They don't see the bigger picture, they calling me cray. Had to reason with my little cuzzy just the other day. Ma J say you're moving astray, say you want that bad and you want shot yay and your two friend dead and it's peak where you stay, but that's life in the ends at the end of the day. But this world too big to be trapped in a cage. I was 16 years old when I'd say this is the first moment. Obviously up until that point it was always things. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying, like being an 8-year-old on stage in front of these much people, do you know what I mean? Every school play I was always the main character, every musical, whatever, always, do you know what I mean? So I've always been doing that sort of thing, but I'd say the moment I started to really like try to establish myself as an artist, I was 16 years old. I did my first ever video. First ever proper video. It was Cash Cam. That's what I'm saying, Cash Cam. My guy, big influencer in Nottingham. Do you know what I mean? Innovator. Clinical and vital to the Nottingham scene. Cash Cam is. And obviously we go back. It's like I'm saying, Cash Cam, the first ever video I shot. At that time, Cash was doing a lot of things. Like Cash was filming everyone in Nottingham. Everyone. So from the mega stars at that time, Wariko, do you know what I mean, My G, Jar, all of these people, he's filming all of these people, huge people, Shadow, etc, Brucey, everyone, Sparks, Marvin, do you know what I'm saying, J.I. So it's like when he's filming all of these people, there's a massive vibration going around and happening in Nottingham. So I wanted to get involved, you know what I'm saying? So who was it? Fizzle, yeah. Fizzle got Cash Cam anyway for me. Cash Cam came and linked me with the man them, do you know what I'm saying? With the man them, whatever. Banged on the beat. There we go, that's history.
The pot taking the shadiest business. They don't seek to exist, lost my witness. Hope you're listening. You better listen, winners that don't quit and quitters that don't win. Me, I'm a winner, hits far from my team. But you man are losers, that's why you're losing. You're not going in off as hard as me king. That's why I'm winning. You laid out the bells ringing, ding ding dinging. It's over the fat lady singing. Ambulance man are ringing, paramedic get bringing. Paralytic he's ticking. Cause a punchline that I just dropped just kill him. Wait, let me get back to the rhythm.
But anyway, that was my first ever video. A9, Cash Cam, filmed by Cash, and then from there, like, yeah, I started to build a little fan base, you know what I mean, being 16, a lot of people was resharing the video, posting the video, started to get a lot of love.
Move everybody, get down, like I want the AK round, do the Matrix. Down everybody, get down, like I want the AK round, do the Matrix. Down everybody, get down, like I want the AK round, do the Matrix.
From then, started to meet new people, started to work with new people within Nottingham. People like Elements, Andy Zutar, Lee, Sir Dubs, and yeah, man, just everyone. Do you know what I mean? So I started to work with a lot more people, and then we started to do like sets. We started to do sets, a lot of sets, just licking down sets, shutting down sets. And that's what it is, that's like grind training camp, do you know what I mean? So we was in training.
Check my mind state and dialects, nicely kept, defining direct rhymes are high tech without a time check. I line up 5 men plus, long as a diamond or core. I'm still a wise man. Reflect on the chapter of a book, life like I'm stuck. The last of them are weak as the boss. I work hard, blood. You can check the dirt on my cause. Under the laws and regulations of living, I may well be. As for everyday runners, there's nothing that you can.
gigging. Gigging is some of the, like, you can't beat gigging, because like this, let's say here is where I'll make all the songs, and this is kind of like solitude. So whether you got a couple of people in the studio, mainly I'm in here on my own. Most of my ideas come at crazy o'clock, so it's just me. So you build a vibe on your own, but you don't really kind of feel the vibe as it really is until you see someone else acknowledge it. And when you see someone else in the crowd sing along with your lyrics, or you see somebody absolutely going crazy to something that you created, it makes it that bit more special. So I think, so being live on, live on stage, hearing my first record ever playing on Radio 1, or any radio station actually, like, it's that first record is the most important one. Like, every other record after that, when you hear them on radio, it's kind of cool, but that first one is like, you're like, wow, that's me on the radio. It's my song. Like, I'm used to listening to other people sing and other people have their records, but this is mine, and it's a weird trip to get over. But yeah, they're some of my favourite things, really.
From a very young age, I've grown up in a household of music, especially reggae music. So it's something that I kind of grew into. My mum, my dad, always playing the music, and like I said, my dad, he was a part of the Rocket International.
And if you really get high, hey, we rock, you got the style to make our song run and ride. I wanna see it,
At the time, that's a Nottingham-based sound, been around for many years. My uncle also was involved in it, so it's kind of like it was in the family. I used to see him back in the days coming in from dances, coming in from parties, talking about how the session was. Back in that time, it was a lot of like sound clashes and stuff, so they used to battle against other sound systems all over the country and come in and talk about the results, etc. So it was kind of like a household thing, seeing the family, my dad, my uncle mainly involved in it, and also, like I said before, my mum playing music within the house. That's how I kind of got interested in it. I would say it's in the blood, more or less. In terms of a career, again, it leads back to, personally, I think it's within my blood. Always enjoyed music, always enjoyed listening to music, always collected music, and my dad used to own a record shop. I would play on the decks, the Technique decks in there when I was younger, fight with my brothers who's gonna have a go, and really from there, in terms of a career, I did it, started playing at little parties, and enjoyed it, and that's where I've started from, really.
I was in a hip hop group. The hip hop group that I was with was called Ricochet, and we was actually on the same label with Trevor and Courtney. So before that, we used to have the studios up at the Atlas Centre. So I got into music kind of that way. In terms of how I got into the industry is a bit of a weird one, because the track that I wrote, so I'm known for a garage track called I'm Sorry. That was originally an R&B track. It was co-written by myself and my cousin Nicky Reed, who's also like a writer in the industry as well. He came to me with an idea for a song, and he had some verses written, and basically we took it on, we recorded it. So we recorded it as an R&B track. That was how it was going to go out. Now, I didn't know much about the garage scene at this time, and garage had been around maybe 2 years or so now. So we're talking, this was 97 when we wrote Sorry originally. But yeah, my other cousin of mine, he was very in tune with the garage scene at that time and introduced us to some guys, which is now Monster Boy. And they had a little studio, so we pretty much re-recorded the track, added some next bits into it, and made it this garage anthem. Pretty much from there, it was on white label, so we printed it up on white label, and then, man, before we knew it, it was like radio, and then Radio 1, they was playing it, and it just kind of just it just snowballed from there, man. And then obviously labels, and then getting involved. What is this track? What is this track? This is crazy. So we kind of fell into it, like I won't say by accident. There was an element of luck with it as well, because I think sometimes I think you catch things at the right time, and I think we caught garage just at the right time. It was getting really popular, and labels were starting to look at it maybe as pushing that particular genre into the chart. So once it went onto white label, we got approached by an independent label called Locked On Records. So they got in touch with Dave at Monster Boy. So he had his own label as well, Monster Songs. And we just kind of went from there. It went from Monster Songs to Locked On Records, and Locked On Records to Universal, which is where the track's still now. So yeah, man, it was long journey, but it's been an interesting one so far. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how we fell into the industry. It was kind of just by accident, really. Do you know what I mean? So, but I mean, it was always something that I aimed to do anyway, regardless. It wasn't meant to be with garage. It was meant to be either with hip hop or R&B. But fair play, man. The garage scene has got me where I am today, and it pays my bills. So I can't complain, man. Do you know what I mean? That's all good.
Before I was really writing my own raps and doing my own songs, I was playing football, and I played for a local team, and I was always substitute, even though the manager used to say, like, yeah, you're one of my best players. I'm sure he just wanted me to pay the £3 a week, but I stopped playing football, and I just rang the manager and said I don't want to play no more. And I told my dad, because my dad was a footballer. My dad was like a really good footballer, so I kind of like wanted to make him happy by doing football, but my heart weren't really in it. And then when I started getting into hip hop at like 12, well, I was already into hip hop a little bit, but like then I started writing down other rappers' lyrics. I like reading lyrics in the cover section of the cassette, and used to buy tapes from HMV. Used to get my favorite rappers on cassette, and then it was more of a thing that we did when we was playing out. So we would I remember the first kind of attempt at rapping was like it was like me and Lee Ramsey used to see who could say Miggity Mac the fastest. So like Criss Cross had a song called Jump, and there's like a line that went like, I'm the Miggity 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 Mac. So I used to think that rapping fast was like the thing. And then Lee was always a good freestyler, Lee Ramsey, who I grew up with. So I wasn't as good as him. And then he started going to the studio when it was in St. Anne's at Ackner. And he used to come back from the studio with tapes. And I used to listen to what he did in the sessions. And I always used to say to him, oh, bring me through, I would like to go to the studio. And he used to always say, oh no, you won't fit in there, I don't think you're ready to go there yet. And but I just was interested. I heard about the studio. I wanted to go to a real studio. So eventually I pulled his arm to let me go. And I remember, the very first time I went to the studio, I walked in and I was waiting in the fire exit at Ackner, because you could go in the back way of the fire exit way by the car park. And I remember waiting where the steps were, just hearing the bass from the studio and someone recording. And these times we used to listen to Tim Westwood on a Friday night, and I recognised like one of the voices of the rappers. But anyway, I went in, and it was Law from Pure Genius was recording, and I just saw that's the very first time I physically saw a studio, like the mixing desk, the mic booth. The mic booth was like, I think it was in like a little cupboard with I'm sure it might have had a sink in, I'm not sure. And then I think Law came out and started listening to his tune, and I was like more happy to I was right at the back, just like blending in the corner, just watching. And then a few other times that I went, like being a kid, I don't think I could go there all the time, because I was only like a kid, so it's not like I could just roll through and people would let me in. And I think that one of the rappers didn't turn up. So I said to Trevor or Nick. Nick was sitting down. Yeah. Nick and Trevor sitting down behind the desk. And I says, oh, let me have a go. And I pulled the rap out, and I went in and I did the rap. And it was Nick who said, oh, you got a nice flow. It's all right. You got a nice flow. And that's when I thought, oh, I might be able to do this, because I went on that first time being on the mic. I was nervous. I don't think I've rapped in front of anyone before. Yeah, and then Nick says, oh, you got a nice flow. And then every couple of weeks I'd go to the studio with a new rap. And back then we used to have our raps in my back pocket because we didn't have phones. So I'd had all these mad pieces of paper. And I used to just record. When I got the chance, like, it used to give me like 5 minutes here and there to get better. I remember Trevor used to say, you know, you're good, but you can improve. And they used to like tell you that you was whack if you was whack and what you needed to work on. And then about a year of doing that, I think Trev turned around and says, you know what? Come down to Heatwave Radio, which was the pirate radio station, and do a few verses on there. And I was well nervous. I got my best raps. I learned them, I practiced them. And I think back then, I think that Trev like was throwing a kid in the deep end, and I think he saw something that he wanted me to work with or work on.
Beyond where imagination can carry you, blatantly having your way, I'm turning brains into cabbages. I run across maps in minutes, lapping rappers twice before they finish. I tear tracks, that's my only gimmick. My coalition leave you up like lonely women. It's so distinctive, pushing pens with my own opinion. Just owning with you, then I switch and soak your whole dominion. With the coldest, boldest statements, I leave you no ultimatum but to start like alternators. We cassette dates, the next day you'll have a Beck's face, cause the ep breaks and twisted up your cassette tape. You're not as precise as this, you're all rats following a pipe on some weak minor and you'll be dying quick cause I got iron fists.
Or he's just probably being nice, you know, because I did kind of like bug him because I used to always then turn up at the studio maybe at the wrong time when someone else was recording. I was a bit of a bugaboo, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think one time he said, oh God, I wish he'd forget the address to the studio, you know. But yeah, so I ended up going on Heatwave radio station, which was a pirate radio station. And then the funny reaction that from people is that when you've been on the radio station, a few of my friends didn't believe that it was me, because there was a hip hop show. It was Styly C, DJ Styly C on a Saturday, and my friends didn't believe me that I was on. But then when I went back to my local area where everyone was playing football, I did the raps that I did on the radio, and it was like, oh, it was him. Then I got involved in a community project. It was a drug prevention project where we was going to rap about drug prevention and, you know, like crime and issues, but make it into a record. And I ended up being on that record, and that record ended up being played on Tim Westwood. So within 2 years or a year, I've gone from busting on the mic to being on like Tim Westwood on a Saturday night. And Tim Westwood never played music on a Saturday night from UK artists. And we had an American accent, so it kind of blended in. And Tim Westwood played it, and I was like, going back to school the next day with tapes and saying, listen to this, I was on the radio, and people didn't really believe it. I was like, yeah, I was on Westwood. So to going from listening to hip-hop on the radio to being on the radio, that's when I first got a taste of, like, you know, the joys of hearing yourself and being proud of what you've done and then it getting played. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I started off as a rapper. I've always been a rapper, and then it was not until really being in church playing the drums, and then I started to when I started to sing. How I really started to sing is I never had a singing lesson in my life. I just kind of used to just mimic like my favourite artists, whether it would be like Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson. If I could hit notes like them or try and mimic them on the track and stuff. So that's kind of really how I discovered my singing voice. But I never really, never had a singing lesson or anything like that. I was just a guy that just had a good musical ear, so I always could sing in tune from quite a young age. So I mean, my style, it's varied. I would say with my style, you can tell where my influences are from, and my influences are definitely like the old R&B guys, and then kind of like the mid-90s guys as well. I listen to a lot of Boys to Men. But I like the oldies, man. I'm really liking the old stuff. So I would say my influences definitely come from like the Motown style and the early days of R&B, Bobby Brown's and the New Edition and all that kind of stuff. Man. So yeah, I would say my style is a bit of a mixture of all kind of like my favourite singers and that entertainers growing up.
Game's changed, man. Game's changed. A lot of that's due to social media sort of thing. But yeah, man, the game's definitely changed. Definitely changed from back then. You gotta think about it. Like back then, I was like 16 when I started, and then think about the massive American artists. Do you know what I mean? They never really used to fuck with English artists at that point in time. None of them did. Do you know what I mean? You'd never really like see that sort of thing. If anything, it would be an English singer over in America that sounds American. You know what I mean? But they never really used to fuck with the English thing. Obviously then UK rap wasn't what it is now. Do you know what I mean? And grime was still middle aged. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't new, but it wasn't where it got to. Do you know what I mean? Before the sort of decline, but and it was like these artists was doing massive things in America, huge things in America, and now it's like it's casual now to do it. You see Steph London, an artist that's breaking so many boundaries. Do you know what I mean? Working with these huge megastars. Do you know what I mean? So it's so possible. It's so possible. And there's more collaboration now, and I think the social media's sort of helped that thing of being able to connect more easier. Maybe you'd need to go to a show over in that country to meet that person and connect with that person a few years ago. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now you can just DM them on Instagram and you can link up. So it's definitely, I'll say that dynamic's changed. Also, on the other side of that coin, there's a lot more artists now. Do you know what I mean? A lot more people are wanting to do music now because it's something that is easier to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like anyone thinks they can rap. It's not for everyone. Do you know what I mean? And the cream always rises to the top. So, but like I'm saying, and it's a lot more competitive and a lot of things get drowned out now. Do you know what I mean? And necessarily you find a lot of artists will get signed if they go viral on Instagram or something, and then they'll get signed off the back of that, and it's not really I feel like it's more lazy now. I feel like the industry is more lazy in the sense of the A&Rs. Do you know what I mean? It's like whoever's popping off virally, yeah, we'll sign that person. It's not really about looking at the talent that much as it was prior. Do you know what I mean? And I think that sort of element's getting lost. Do you know what I mean? But like I say, the cream always rises to the top, baby. But yeah, man, I'd say they're the differences.
So when I started, it seemed like a majority, I'm not saying all, can't say all, a majority of artists or DJs or people in the business were more hungry. You know, they had a talent, but they had a hunger. It wasn't just talent. They learned from people that was in the game, you know, before them. The thing is about now, as I said, I'm not saying all, a lot of people get into something when they don't understand it. So when they get challenged or they get knocked to the side, you know, it's not necessarily a knock, it's just they haven't learned something. So they might be talented, but because their feelings have been hurt, it's like they're not pursuing. So I think that earlier people had more of a hunger and a talent to pursue things. I'm not saying the new talent, they aren't, because there is a lot out there. And that's going with the labels and everything else. You know, it's not just the artists.
Trevor was like, I remember this. Trevor was like outside of the room when I was making this, and he came and was like, "Yep, this." Trevor's got that. Big Trev's got that ear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trev's got that. Yeah, this one, you know, scores, or this one Lee, or this one temper, or this one charisma, or this one all of them. But he would just pop his head, because I'd be in the little room and Nick would be in the big room, or there might be no one in there. I might just go in the small room, and Trevor would walk in and go, "Yeah, Fever, this one." Do you know what I mean? He's got that ear. He knows who's gonna sit nice on it. You know, pretty much like, you know, 9 times out of 10 he'll pick the beat, put the rapper on it, and it will work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, he's got that. He's got that thing. That's that producer. That other.
That's what you need to produce, though.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Not the beat maker, because I would consider myself more of a beat maker. Maybe even still now. Do you know what I mean? I've a bit more of an understanding of what producers do, and try and incorporate that into what I'm doing. Ask rappers to change their flows and stuff. But Trevor was the producer. Yeah. You know, that ear. You know what I mean?
They just
we wouldn't have been able to do it without him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was like, you know, plus like he knew how to take the product once it was done, and he knew how to sell it. You know what I mean? And get it all together and get it sold. Plus, he knew when a rap wasn't strong enough. He knew what they could do. Do you know what I mean? He knew, if that rap wasn't hard enough, write it again, go harder.
The law of attraction is my trigger word. Still got a vast array of little irks that limit nerds.
1 second, it's my missus.
No problem.
Hello?
Have you finished?
No, I'm just on the last question now and you're interrupted while the camera's rolling.
Oh, sorry.
I think, like I touched on previously, in terms of, I'm gonna touch on artists first, rather than my thing, my DJ thing. I think we have a lot of talented artists, and we have a wide range in regards to genre. A lot of rappers, a lot of grime artists, a lot of singers. So I think the state it's in at the moment, we're in a good state. I think in terms of artists from Nottingham making that big break. And it doesn't even have to be a big break. It could just be that break to go on the national, to make it to that national level where your name's ringing in each city, and you're being requested to do shows in that city and this city. I think we're not quite there yet. A few of the artists are, and respect and big up to those that have got there, but I'm not quite sure what we're missing. I don't know if the opportunities are being given and the platforms being given, and we're not taking it and getting to the point we need to be at. But that's not because the talent isn't there. The talent is amazing. Like, I would say, out of all of the cities, Nottingham have some of the best artists. So, in regards to that, the state is good. I don't want to go too much into it because that's not really my forte, like managing artists and all of that. But the talent's there. I listen to the local artists. I hear them on the radio all the time. See some of them on YouTube. See some of them performing top marks. So big up to all of them. In terms of my thing now, the DJing thing, like I said, I'm not your regular urban DJ, your town DJ. I'm more sound system orientated. So we've got a big sound system. We voice artists in Jamaica on a regular basis. I think from that angle of things, I haven't seen many young people, and when I say young, I'm saying from the age what I started, like 14, 15 into their mid-teens, late teens. I haven't seen many young people who have taken a massive interest into that side of the culture in terms of sound system, dub plate, sound clashes.
I think one of the first obstacles is admitting that you're not as good as you think you are, and then you got to work on like your flow and your timing or your craft. Basically, it could be anything, just working on your craft. And then, like, I don't know, just the challenging bits are probably, I don't know, as you get older it might be financial. You know, like, do you carry on doing this as a hobby? Does it pay the bills? Do you feel like an idiot doing a hobby that doesn't pay the bills when you should be doing something else if you've got a family or financial situations? But back then, the challenges that now are different because we didn't have an internet. We didn't have no internet. And I know that's boring now, and every old man artist, you old farts, keep saying we didn't have the internet, we didn't have the internet. But what you don't realise is if you never lived without the internet, then you don't realise that, you know, to get gigs or to go to open mic sessions, you'd have to go and buy a magazine. Look in the back of the magazine where all the gigs are. Does it have an open mic? Yes, it has an open mic. Let's go to the open mic. I remember Trevor used to send us out knocking on club doors in the daytime because he knew that they'd be doing some admin work. And we'd go, oh, we're a local band, can we play for free? Yeah, we've got an open mic. We used to walk round. They used to send us out. We used to go, I remember, oh gosh, the first CD I ever made, Trev sent me down to the Prince's Trust. And there was this little old lady in the Prince's Trust who was handing out loans to do creative stuff. And at first they offered me a £5 loan with like 0.5% interest, and Trevor's like, you can't pay £5 back, that's crazy. So they gave me 120 quid. Then we went and got a load of blank CDs, got some covers made, took a photo, made some CDs with 120 quid. Then Trevor used to take them CDs to London, give them to like DJ 279, Choice FM, Big Ted, Max and Dave, Kiss FM. He used to give the CDs to the DJs, and then from that you would see like your tune getting played or a write-up in a magazine. And it was more talking to journalists, who writes the articles, you know, who works for the magazine. And I think a lot of the groundwork was done by Trev going to London back and forth. And they was the challenges. Challenges were distance and time. Challenges were you need to travel there. Where now it's like, yeah, send it, bam.
To be fair, I know when we was rapping and we was on the label, Nottingham was the place. Like, I'm not too sure how much you know about the Nottingham rap scene, like in the early 90s, sort of early to mid 90s, but Nottingham was the, we had a really, really good scene. We had a really good scene for the culture itself, like with the B-boys, we had 3 of the best breakdancing crews in the whole of the UK. So we had the Assassinators, we had the Rock City crew as well, and guys from there, a lot of them were rappers as well. So yeah, I mean, Nottingham's always been a place for the. It's Nottingham's been a place where rappers have been known, especially with rappers. We've got Mr. 45. Mr. 45 had a massive single out early in the 90s, and that kind of put Nottingham on the map because the track was called Bradford, You Get Me. So not only was it like one of the biggest hip hop tracks to come out in the early 90s, but it also gave people what the slang was. They knew about Radford, so when they knew about Nottingham, so every time I used to go out of town, when they know about Nottingham, they always used to make reference to that track as well. They always used to be like, Radford, you get me? Yeah, man, yeah, I remember those tunes. But I mean, at the minute, I think, especially now, because there's so much going off in terms of studios, with the different studios that are propped up in Nottingham now, I think it's in a good way. It's heading towards that way where, kind of like London at the minute. And I think what we needed to do in Notts is we needed to be a bit more collective, you know, because over the years, kind of everyone's kind of done their own thing, and we've not really been a come together and, you know, let's try and see what we can do as a city. But it seems to be happening now. There's a lot more people that are coming together, doing projects together, and really pushing the music scene in Nottingham forward.
My advice to the youth of Nottingham, and this is not being sarcastic, it's not being trying to be like comical, is Google it. Yeah. How do I become an independent music artist? Google it. How do I get my tunes on Spotify and then get the lyrics up? Google it. How do I release a record? Google it. How much does it cost to release a record? Google it. How do I get my timing better in music? Google it, yeah? There's so much information online, you can find your way through a maze by asking questions. And that what I do now is I want to learn something new, I will go listen to something and say, right, what did that word mean? And I'll look the word up. Like if I learn a new skill, I'll go, right, what does RSI mean? Or what are they saying? And I'll Google everything. And then you can Google your way through the maze of what to do. And I would say, just you know, focus your time and don't focus your time on nonsense. Focus it on stuff that you can build on for the rest of your life.
I'd say utilise the fact that we live in a time where you can have your own platform on social media and showcase all of your talent. Before you used to have to wait for a casting agent or a booking agent to like you or to say yes to you, but now you can literally build a following online and attract those opportunities to you, which is exactly what I did. So basically I started a YouTube channel, and on the channel I was learning to DJ, and then within a month I got signed to an international DJ agency, and yeah, it's now like my full-time job, so you don't have to wait for people to say yeah.
When I came in the game, there was no better start really. I had a studio I could go to. That's more than most people had, and even though the equipment was nowhere near the same like now, because you know, like I would say things like, oh, I would use different kind of sounds, or but they didn't exist. You know what I mean? The Apple Macs didn't exist, and the synthesizers didn't exist. We couldn't get them. So really, I kind of wouldn't change nothing. It kind of, if anything, I would have changed. And the only thing I look back is, I wish I would have got into the visual side of things a lot earlier than I did. But once again, we didn't have the computers to do it. Like I didn't have a laptop with Premiere Pro or After Effects, so I couldn't learn I didn't even know they existed. It weren't till home computers came in and everyone's getting laptops and iMacs that you kind of go, wow, I can make videos. So really, it is as it should be. Like all the mistakes I've made have brought me to this moment, have brought me to who I am now, so kind of wouldn't change nothing. Like I'm kind of happy with my journey that I've took and where I'm still going. Be good at what you do, be consistent, get out of your own city, like get onto as many open mic nights, and know that the first couple of years is free. This is where you're kind of like show improving basically, and you kind of got to build up your repertoire, both with the people, the public, also promoters, because no one's going to give you money and say go on the stage straight away, or no label is going to be interested in you unless you already have interest. That time's gone, especially now, like because we're in the world of social media. If you haven't built a fan base up, because remember nowadays you can build a fan base up for free. Like that's not something you could do before. Even putting records out before, you used to have to pay to get a vinyl printed or whatever, however physical way you would do it. But now because of digital, you can literally make a beat today, lay the vocals and upload it to the internet by 7 o'clock tonight. and the entire world can hear it. Like, you've got so much more power now, but then why it goes against you is so is a million other people. So now there's a billion of us all saying we're the next guy or the next girl. So where it comes to back down to again is consistency and talent. Like, be good at what you do, and you know, be flamboyant, and you know, it's a hard journey, but I think it's the way it is now, because things move faster and we consume music quicker as well. Like I can't tell you like that I've been listening to the same album for the last month, because I haven't. I've gone through songs. That was my favorite. Now this is my favorite, because there's so much music out there. So you've kind of got to find your lane and try and stand out. Like, because the easiest thing that I see a lot of the youngsters do is they all want to be like that guy. They want their songs to sound like that guy's. They want the chorus like that guy's. But then no one wants to hear that, because we heard that last month. We're on to something completely new. But if you're still doing that, you're still in the shadow and the footsteps of someone else who's just already done something different. So you've kind of got to find your lane and kind of wait till your time comes around to kind of do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the advantages is amazing now, just because it's free and you hit and miss. You can just keep putting music out, and if you love making music, you can just constantly keep throwing songs out, and eventually there's someone out there is gonna go, I like this guy.